What's happening, everybody? It's Sean with reactions to the classics. Today, we got a Cage the Elephant Top 10 brought to us by a friend, longtime supporter and patron of the channel, Slade Said. Thank you, Slade Said. Always appreciate you. Appreciate all the patrons who support us every month. They make this thing go. If you'd like to support us in any way, check out the Patreon link below or the patron link on the end screen. It is much appreciated. Slade Said knows a ton about music. I know the name Cage the Elephant because once you hear it, you'll never forget it because it's a very unique band name, but I don't think I know any of their songs. So let's see what Slade Said has to say about this. For my August top 10 list, I decided to make a top 10 list for the American but London-based band Cage the Elephant. Cage the Elephant so far has released 5 studio albums. They were formed in 2006 by brothers Matt Schultz, who's lead vocals, and Brad Schultz, rhythm guitar, together with the lead guitarist Lincoln Parrish, Mathen Minster, guitars and keyboards, Daniel Tishnor on bass, and Jared Champion on drums. They relocated to London in 2008 before the release of their self-titled debut album. Before that, they'd been the support act for Queens of the Stone Age for that band's Canada tour. The album sold reasonably well, and they appeared on the music show Later with Jules Holland to get some national TV exposure in the UK. The album shows a band still trying to find their sound, and style-wise, it is an outlier compared to the rest of their discography, as it sounds very influenced by the Rolling Stones, not a sound or an influence you would hear a lot on subsequent albums. The second album, Thank You, Happy Birthday, was released in 2011 and fared much better, debuting at number 2 on the Billboard album list. Again, they appeared in various live shows such as Late Show with David Letterman and The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. They played a number of festivals and toured as a support band with Foo Fighters. The lead single from the album, Shake Me Down, was nominated for an MTV Music Award, a Video Music Award for Best Rock Video, although it didn't win. The band also won the Rolling Stone Readers poll for Best New Artist of 2011. The album was my first encounter, Slade said, with the band, and I believe it is a very good album with a lot of great catchy tunes. The influences and the sounds are very different compared to the debut album, as this album shows a band more influenced by Pixies and alternative rock, rather than the roots rock of the Rolling Stones. They'd actually written and recorded more than 80 songs for the album, only to decide they didn't really like any of them, and they discarded them all. Instead, they had some songs and ideas from side projects, which they decided to use for the album instead, as they found them much more interesting. Band's third album, Slade says, in his opinion, is their best. Melophobia was released in August of 2013. The album went gold, but a few months after its release, lead guitarist Lincoln Parrish decided to quit the band as he wanted to pursue a career as a producer instead. He was replaced by Nick Bockrath. On this album, the band truly found their style and sound, which is not easy to define. Alternative rock with some soul and R&B influence is probably the best way to categorize it. It was the most polished album so far, for sure. The fourth album, Tell Me I'm Pretty, followed in late December 2015, and while I personally don't believe it's as good as Melophobia, the album nevertheless won a Grammy for Best Rock Album in 2017. The sound was a bit more experimental than on the previous album, but not far removed. The album was supported by a lot of touring, and this also resulted in the band recording a live album, Unpeeled, which was released in 2017. The fifth album, and last album so far when I'm filming this in mid-2022, is Social Cues, released in April of 2019. Style-wise, it continued the trend from Melophobia and Tell Me I'm Pretty, although it's even more polished and removed from alternative rock than ever before. That does not make it a bad album by any means, but I see why some fans of the first couple of albums fail to love this album. I personally like the album a lot, and so did the ones responsible for the Grammy Awards, as the album secured the band's second Grammy Award for Best Rock Album at the 2020 Awards. And Slade said, now finally, let's get to the songs. Now before we do, just a reminder, the music won't be in the video, but it will be in a Vimeo link below, so check that out. And we go to number 10, you see it below, Ain't No Rest for the Wicked, off that self-titled debut in 2008. Slade said the first song on this list is the only one I have picked from the debut album. He said, now I'll be honest, it's not really in my top 10 songs by the band, but I thought it would be wrong to not include a song from that album, also to show the difference in sound between particularly the first album and the rest. The song I picked is my favorite song on the debut album. It was the lead single and reached number 32 on the UK singles chart. It's featured in a computer game and a movie, so it did get some exposure elsewhere. I found that a later re-release in North America the following year let it reach 92 on the Billboard Hot 100. It's not great, but once you're in that Hot 100, you've somewhat arrived at it. Reached number 3 on the alternative songs chart and number 8 on the mainstream rocks chart. The lead singer Matt Schultz stated that the song was inspired by an old co-worker of his who at the time was a drug dealer. When Schultz asked him why he dealt drugs, the co-worker told him that there's no rest for the wicked. Schultz was a plumber at the time and said that he wrote the lyrics on a piece of drywall which he found while working at his co-worker's house. All right, man. I'll have the lyrics up as always. Thanks again, Slade said. Let's check it out. Ain't No Rest for the Wicked. Great acoustic work. I mean, it says by Nick, Daniel, Brad, and Matt that everybody's in on this thing. Just I liked it, man. I thought it was catchy, and I thought the story of it's very well written, right? He's walking down the street in verse 1, and a prostitute approached him. He's like, why are you doing this? I said, you're such a sweet young thing. Why you do this to yourself? She said, oh, there ain't no rest for the wicked. Money don't grow on trees. I got bills to pay. I got mouths to feed. There ain't nothing in this world for free. I know I can't slow down. I can't hold back, though I wished I could. I know there ain't no rest for the wicked until we close our eyes for good. I'm kind of saying it like he said it because it's so good. Not even 15 minutes later, he gets mugged, right? And the guy said, hey, give me all you've got. I want your money, not your life. But if you try to make a move, I won't think twice. So then he asks him, he tells him, you may have my cash, but first, I got to ask, what made you want to live this kind of life? And we get the chorus. And then he goes home. He's a couple hours just passed. He's sitting in his house. And a TV preacher gets taken off in cuffs because he stole the church's money. And he says, but even still, I can't say much because I know we're all the same. Oh, yes, we all seek out to satisfy those thrills. And he hits out with the chorus again. I thought that was a really good song, man. I really enjoyed the writing. I thought it was catchy. I thought the acoustic guitar work was really well done. I'll go to number 9 on this list, Aberdeen. Thank You, Happy Birthday is the album from 2011, their second album. Slade said the change in sound and style from the first track is pretty huge. The song was the album's third single, and they made a great animation video for the song, which really needs to be seen. I saw the song was originally named Maybelline, but was later changed to Aberdeen because the Cage the Elephants lead singer, Matt Schultz, couldn't stop singing the city's name while rehearsing in Aberdeen, Scotland. It went to 22 on the hot rock and alternative charts in the U.S. Aberdeen, definitely different sounding than the first track. I think lyrically it's much more abstract. It's really just about the sound, the vibe. I really did enjoy it. The guitar work was fantastic on it, and I thought the vocals were really well done as well. I mean, I don't have a lot more to say. This is definitely a different sound. The bass work was probably the superstar on it all throughout that song. Next up at number 8, off the most recent album, Social Cues in 2019. You see it below. Black Madonna. Slade said this was the third single of the album. Again, we find a totally different style to the first 2 songs because we're skipping all the way right to the 5th album. Black Madonna, really did enjoy that. The fuzzy guitar, the instrumentation, man, the fuzzy almost vocal performance, a little bit of a treatment on there. It sounded like a definitely different. As Slade said, those first 3 songs are as different as you're going to hear 3 songs by a band really on a countdown like this, which I realize there's a lot of space and time, but that's only 5 albums, right? It's not like they've done 10 albums and changing their sound. So kudos to Cage the Elephant for that. The song itself is just basically Black Madonna about this girl who kind of thinks she's all that, right? No one can touch her. The chorus, climb so high, don't make a sound. Don't you forget what goes up must come down. Climb so high. Tell me how it feels. He's kind of telling her, yeah, you think you're all that now, but sooner or later, kind of what comes around goes around. He said, call me when you're ready to be real, Black Madonna. Hallelujah. It makes no difference here, so let's be real, Black Madonna, my black flower. Which is talking about the Virgin Mary, the Black Madonna. They're in a lot of Catholic churches. Nowhere left to run, nowhere left to hide. You're not having fun. I think that you should ride. Call me when you're ready to be real, Black Madonna. Then as you spin that wool and pull it down, talking about trying to pull the wool over his eyes and lie to him. So that one was really good as well. Now we go to number 7, Too Late to Say Goodbye from the Tell Me I'm Pretty album in 2015. Slade said it was not a single, but the song was made available for download before the album's release. In this song, you can hear that they found their sound since it is much closer to Black Madonna than the first 2 songs on the list. Too Late to Say Goodbye, it's supposedly written about Bonnie and Clyde from Bonnie's perspective. But I didn't want to tell you that at the start because I wanted you to see the song really is just about someone who got too close to someone. They fell in love quickly, a quick love at first sight thing. A lot of fire there, uses the fire kind of a metaphor there, and then understands that I should not have done that. And the echo of my mother's words, baby, don't you play with fire. I was always playing the part. First love only set by a spark. There's no way changing my mind. And then, of course, now I'm under your spell, trapped in a lie. Shouldn't have stood that close to the fire. No turning back, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. It's too late to say goodbye. Push back from my heart. Wish we could go back to the start, but oh my God, is this real? No more time. It's too late. It's too late to say goodbye. So, and then it just kind of unfolds through there. But I thought that was a really good tune. We're going to stay on the same album for number 6. We got Trouble from Tell Me I'm Pretty. in 2015. It was the second single of the album, according to Slade said. I found it was produced and co-written by Dan Auerbach of the Black Keys. It topped the Billboard Alternative Songs chart in the U.S., becoming the band's 7th overall chart topper and staying on the chart for a remarkable 51 weeks. If you're doing the math at home, boys and girls, that's 1 week shy of a year. Matt Schultz explained the song was inspired by a conversation he had with someone close to him. He said, quote, "We were both presenting ourselves as being very honest in the conversation, and I felt there were several places where I was holding back or kind of curating the idea of what I wanted projected pretty heavily as inside the conversation." So I was curious at what level they were doing the same. So the song's kind of just about honesty and adversity and struggle and stuff like that. I think that's great. How many of us do that, right? We're laying it all on the line, but then we're holding a little bit back, and then we're like, well, if I'm holding a little bit back, I bet they're holding a little bit back. So let's check it out. There you have it. Trouble. What a good song, right? More of a ballad, almost from Matt's vocal delivery, not necessarily the instrumentation. I mean, at first with the acoustic, but he's basically just telling her, we were at the table by the window with the view, casting shadows, the sun was pushing through. Spoke a lot of words. I don't know if I spoke the truth. And then the pre-chorus, got so much to lose, got so much to prove. God, don't let me lose my mind. So he knows he's not being totally transparent. He's wondering if that's going to catch up with him. And then the chorus, trouble on my left, trouble on my right. I've been facing trouble almost all my life. My sweet love, won't you pull me through? Everywhere I look, I catch a glimpse of you. I said it was love and I did it for life. Didn't do it for you. And then he just kind of rolls through. Boy, I passed the test. The wicked get no rest. Going back to that wicked again. You can have my heart any place, anytime. So I thought that was a great offering. We are halfway through this list. And here's what I know so far. I really, really like Cage the Elephant. Let's check out number 5. We have Around My Head, going back to the Thank You Happy Birthday album from 2011. Remember their second one. Slade said the song is a great rock song where the Pixies' influences are very prevalent in both the sound and some of Matt Schultz's outbursts. The song was the second single from the album. I found it went to 27 on the U.S. Hot Rock and Alternative Songs chart. Around My Head. Very catchy with the ooh, 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 ah, 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 ah. That was very catchy, right? I see someone say that they think this is, it's a made up, a figment of Matt's imagination, this ideal woman. I'm not positive about that. Right? I'm not 100% sure about that. I could see that take, but he starts, I don't know why I got these feelings. I just can't seem to get away from. Can you dig it? You will never see it. No, you won't find it falling off my tongue. I take it downtown, finally lose it. And then, of course, I don't think it's very nice to walk around my head all night. You got me tangled like a braid, tie twisted. I don't think it's fair to you. So he's kind of talking about this stuff. So maybe not real or maybe real, and just messing with his head and not there at the time and just kind of walking around in his head. I don't know, but a very catchy song at number 5. Now we're up to number 4. We got Come a Little Closer from Melophobia in 2013. Slade said, finally, we have a song from Melophobia. Remember, he said he thought it was their best album. It was the lead single of the album and topped the Billboard Alternative Songs charts in the U.S. I found Matt wrote it taking inspiration from an occasion which he woke up in a San Paulo hotel in the early morning, opened his window to watch the sunrise. Finding the makeshift housing comparable to an anthill, he soon found himself wondering what each soul inside each burrow felt, whether it be heartache, love, loss, or joy. Song went to 72 in Canada, 15 on the Hot Rock and Alternative charts, number 1 in U.S. rock airplay, and certified platinum, million seller / streamer in the way that they measure that nowadays. Come a Little Closer, the first song on our countdown from Melophobia, Slade said, favorite album of Cage the Elephant. I can see why. Love the sound here. It is kind of an in-between, right? Between what we hear on the last album and what we hear on the first album. So just really, really good stuff here. Like I talked about while it was going on, the bass work on there was fantastic at the start. The song itself, I mean, so catchy. Come a little closer, then you'll see. Like, not everything is as it appears, right? You've got to get a little close. You got to get to know me, and don't judge me if you do know me on my past experiences, right? Just judge me on what I'm telling you right now and what I'm doing. So I just thought it was really catchy, just a perfect amount of time on it. Now, when Matt was asked in an interview how this song came about, he's got a little different story than what I read you at the start. So who knows what's really the truth? A lot of times artists give multiple stories. Maybe on purpose, maybe they just don't quite remember, maybe they kind of all meld together. But he said, we were in the Buenos Aires airport, and I saw this amazing flamenco guitarist who was busking. He had this whole gypsy thing going on. The music he played was very hypnotic and powerful. You could hear the burdens of his heart. I got inspired and grabbed my guitar. I went to the next terminal. There weren't that many people in this one yet, and I started playing what in my head was Bulgarian folk. I wrote the verse at the airport inspired by the thought of things appearing different at first and then seeing them in a new light. We went to Sao Paulo, and I remember being in my hotel and looking out one morning. Okay, so there's what that story is, at this makeshift city on a hill. There were tarps and scrap metal, all of these little boxes with people inside of them. It made me think of an anthill, but then I also thought, no, wait, these are people living their lives. It made me want to look closer. That became the chorus. Once I showed the parts to the band, we went to a rehearsal studio, pieced everything together, and there was a song. But it all started in that airport in Buenos Aires. Funny how that works sometimes. Wow, what a great story behind that. Well, here we are. We're in the top 3. You see it below right before my eyes, going back to the Thank You, Happy Birthday album from 2011. Their second album. Slade said this was never a single, even if it's always one of the band's most popular songs at concerts. And he says, I can see why, as it is a great melodic, up-tempo rock song, and one that definitely should have been a single. Right before my eyes, really like that. The guitar work on that in particular was fantastic. He talks about kind of pain, right? Having pain to escape your life, sort of. Because he says, an empty ocean, lost our way with no direction home. Golden needles, names we take in vain. So golden needles, heroin use, find it harder to remain. Know nothing sacred, still waiting on that explanation. And then the chorus, right before my eyes, I saw the whole world lose control. Before my eyes, I fell through the floor. I couldn't take it anymore. I can't take this anymore. It breaks my mind. And then holding dirty hands over the flames, getting pleasure from the pain. Softly screaming, the pistol that you raised is spoken. Golden needles, names we take in vain. Find it harder to remain. No, nothing sacred, still waiting on that explanation. So a very heavy song, right? The bridge, everything I thought I knew fell to the side. Time went on and on. I couldn't see past my own eyes. And then the chorus, it finishes off with that again. But really well-written song, very deep song, right? An intense song. And just well done, very well arranged, just all the way around. All right, we're to the top 2. And as you can imagine, it's a song from Melophobia, the song Telescope. Melophobia, once again, in 2013. Slade said the song Telescope is just a beautiful ballad, and I love the mood of the song. Telescope, also a very deep song lyrically, right? Here's what Matt said about this song. He said, Telescope was a song that was big for me. It was a breakthrough for me in that manner. We've been touring for about 5 years solid up until this past year, which was the first time that we spent any time at home in the past 5 years. It was the very first time I had my own place. I just found myself doing life's meaningless tasks to fill the void, to pass the time. I became obsessive compulsive about decorating my house. And once I was finished, I felt obligated to spend time in each room. I felt the need to spend time in the kitchen. Then I'd move into the dining room, then into the bedroom, as if it had some sort of purpose. I just saw how pointless it was, and then nothing was being accomplished. He also said it's a great reflection on this winter that he was going through, this winter season in his life, and a portrait into coming from my standpoint. It has strong roots in the feeling of imminent doom. So I thought that's kind of what this is, right? Because, and then you know that he's like talking to himself it starts out in a far and distant galaxy inside my telescope. I see a pair of eyes peer back at me. He talks and walks and looks like me. He sits around inside his house. From room to room he moves about, fills his life with pointless things, and wonders how it all turns out. So he's actually writing about himself. And then the chorus, I don't think you understand. There's nowhere left to turn. The walls keep breaking. Time is like a leaf in the wind. Either it's time well spent or time I've wasted. Don't waste it. It is the one thing, it's the cliche, but it's so true. Father Time is undefeated. Time is the one thing money can't buy. We cannot get more of it. And when you realize you've wasted a lot of it, you kind of become this feeling of anxiety or depression, almost like, wow, I've wasted all this time. But while you're feeling anxiety-ridden or depressed, you've just wasted more time, right? It's a cycle that never ends. I mean, he talks about in verse 2, afraid of what the truth might bring. He locks his door and never leaves, right? He hides that. So that was a really good tune. Now we go to number 1. No drama here on what album it comes off of. 3 of our top 4 songs come off the Melophobia album in 2013. It's Cigarette Dreams. Slade said, Cigarette Dreams share a lot of the same things that I loved about Telescope. It was the 3rd single from the album. Just like Come a Little Closer, it topped the Billboard Alternative Songs chart in the U.S. I found Matt stated that the song is inspired by a, quote, personal experience, and the words come to him naturally. After he began writing, Matt phoned the album's producer, who stated, Matt, finish the song right now, just do it. Matt also noted the song came from a desire to, quote, be transparent and speak from naked honesty. This one also went platinum in the U.S., a million seller/stream. Cigarette Daydreams, Slade said's number 1 Cage the Elephant song, and of this top 10, I can see why he picked that at number one. Just a fantastic song. Now, Brad Schultz, remember Matt Schultz is the lead vocalist, Brad Schultz is the rhythm guitarist. He said this about the song. This is a song that Matt had written and he played to me on his phone, so maybe he was the one he played it to on the song. He's talking about maybe using it for something other than Cage, but I was an instant fan of the song. This is a moment of realization, like, why do we have to write Cage the Elephant songs? We can just write songs regardless of what style of music they might be. I like the idea of doing things that people might not expect from us, so we decided to take a whole new approach to writing, and this song is a good example of that. It's just about being honest. I'm really happy about how we came through the process and opened ourselves up to new ways of accepting any kind of song. This one almost fell through the cracks, but here it is. Well, I'm glad it didn't. And I haven't, well, I'll speak about it at the end, but Matt's vocals are just fantastic on pretty much everything. But this is kind of, just finding the pain in your identity to just stand there all alone. He's thinking about the past constantly in this whole song. Oh, I cannot explain what's going down. I can see you standing next to me, in and out somewhere else right now. You sigh, look away. I can see it clear as day. Close your eyes, so afraid. Hide behind that baby face. So is he... The girl's gone, right? He says you can drive all night, look at the chorus, looking for the answers in the pouring rain. You want to find peace of mind, looking for the answer. So you're going to be out driving in the pouring rain, right? The whole cliche, instead of being with the person you need to talk to, because it's just easier to be out there and kind of get lost. And so he talks about that. The only place that Cigarette Daydreams comes in. Funny how it seems like yesterday, verse 2, as I recall, you were looking out of place, gathered up your things, and slipped away. No time at all, I followed you into the hall. Cigarette Daydreams. You were only 17, soft speak with a mean streak, nearly brought me to my knees. So she's leaving, but then he automatically pops back to the first time he ever saw her. And then we go chorus, bridge, chorus. So what a great choice at number one. The acoustic work on this was also a standout. Now we'll go to my favorite tracks. There wasn't a song on here that I did not like. I liked all of them. Honorable mention maybe is a surprise here, because Slade said this is not one of his top 10 songs, but he wanted some from the debut album. But our 10th pick, Ain't No Rest for the Wicked's honorable mention for me. Trouble from the Tell Me I'm Pretty album. Then we got Come a Little Closer. Those are my honorable mentions. My favorites, this time it lines exactly up with Slade said's. Right Before My Eyes, Telescope, and Cigarette Daydreams, the top 3 songs on here. So what a fantastic list. I have got some albums to add to the album draft. We're doing an album draft, guys. Right now I'm listening to the 2003 albums. Right now that's kind of where I am. But we go year by year. It's up every Friday on the channel. We started in 1965, so go back and check that out. But all of these Cage albums are going to end up being on that list. So that's one of the reasons why I like going through Slade Said stuff specifically, because there's a lot of music that he likes that I have found that I like, right? I really enjoy his list, and it's introduced me to all these new bands. So add another one to the list. So let me know what you think of this list. Give me your top 5 or 10 down below. What else should I check out from Cage the Elephant? Thanks again, Slade Said. Thanks everybody for watching. Until next time, I will see you.